Hi, this is Larry Menti. Welcome back to Another Thing as we continue our conversation looking back at the big events of 2014, now with Iannacone, who is the president of the New Jersey Academy of Science. Thanks so much for joining us, because one of the things that is always overlooked in these look-backs are the step forwards in science, and yet, as you know, Paul Simon wrote in that song, these are the days of miracles and wonder, and some of these things aren't reported enough, so I'm really happy you're here. One of the news stories that rose to the top of interest was Ebola. And there were some scientific and medical findings based on some of the fear of Ebola, especially in this country, such as?
I was going to say it'd be nice to talk about breakthroughs, but here we are talking about an outbreak. But what's really come out of it is a better understanding of how the disease is spread, how to contain it. And one of the things we're finding as people are being brought back to the States where we have state-of-the-art medical facilities, the death rate from infection is lower if you have the kind of facilities and time and support that we can dedicate to patients.
I would imagine one of the things you're looking at is the funding for these national health projects. And the midterm elections might change those dynamics.
They might. I would imagine that no matter who's controlling the purse strings in Congress come 2015, if Ebola is still a problem, that at least will get funded. I could see other funding priorities changing, but nobody in either party wants to see Americans dying of Ebola. So if our government has to shell out some money to support vaccine research and production, I'm pretty sure they're going to do it.
Was that story overplayed, in your opinion, in this country?
What aspect of the story?
The threat to America.
Absolutely. I do think so, because there was a lot of dust up over it, a lot of media coverage, a whole lot of concern. But what we've seen play out is that when facilities and people follow the guidelines that were set out by the CDC, we are able to contain it. There have been no new transmissions of the virus within the United States besides people that have been healthcare providers. So you had, I think it was the 2 nurses in Texas that acquired the infection or the virus within the United States. All the other cases here were brought back here, and those 2 are the only people who have contracted it here. So there's been no casual dissemination or casual contraction of the virus. Nobody has caught it from a toilet seat or the subway or just from coming into close contact with somebody.
So some of the fear was unfounded, but it was fear because it was something new, and as people pointed out, more people are dying of the flu than died of Ebola in this country. I want to get to one of the awe-inspiring stories from 2014 that I don't think many people even know happened. We landed on a meteor?
Yes. Well, not we, the United States, but we, the human race. It was the European Space Agency that put together sort of a 2-stage craft, if you will. One called Rosetta that got the lander within orbit of the comet, I think it is. Yeah, meteors come through the atmosphere, comets pass by. So Rosetta got this lander to the comet. Rosetta is still orbiting the comet, and then the lander called Philae, or Philae, I forget how to pronounce it, that landed on the comet somewhat successfully, and they were able to get some gas samples and some soil samples. I don't think they've had data back from those sampling units yet, but they know that there's data forthcoming.
It's still amazing. I mean, all anybody's going to think of when they hear about this is the movie Armageddon with Bruce Willis when he went up there. Is there that potential that this could save us someday if one was on a collision course with Earth?
Theoretically, I don't know. I think the bigger hurdle in that scenario would be detecting the comet in the first place. Because the universe is a really big place, and it's hard to scan it all and see what's coming.
I think another big story that was missed, or maybe not missed, but wasn't played up high enough in the science specter from 2014, was really the rejuvenation of the space program and the fact that we're now making more space vehicles. And we, not just the US government, but we Americans.
Yeah, no, there's a lot going on, and there's a lot that has been going on. It's not people fixate on the space shuttle because it's cool and we're sending people up into space. But we've still got a lot of unmanned crafts out there. The rover Curiosity is still going strong on Mars after 2.5 years.
Well,
and still,
isn't that amazing? You just forget about it.
Yeah, you forget about it, and then it pops up in the news. They found, this big ancient lake that probably had whoever knows how many millions of gallons of water in it for about 2.5 million years ago.
And that happened, we discovered that this past year?
Yeah, that was in this year. So the Curiosity rover discovered that. And we have resurrected I don't know if resurrected is the right word, but we have a current rocket program, Orion. They did a test firing of the Orion rocket without anybody on board it. But this is a heavy lift rocket that's designed to take people and payload out of low Earth orbit where the space station is. And the long-term goal of the Orion project is to get people landing on an asteroid. So now we're definitely in Bruce Willis's wheelhouse there, and maybe even get people to Mars by 2030.
Let's look back over the last year, because I just picked out some stories that got at least some coverage. What is the story that happened over the last year in science that maybe the layman doesn't know about, but is extremely important to, say, you?
It's hard to pick one. I think...
We'll pick a couple, it's okay.
Well, yeah, we'll go with maybe two. One is that they've released the first draft of the human proteome, and I'm not sure how much your viewers are familiar with that. We've sequenced all of the DNA that a human would carry around, called their genome. And all of the cells in the body have the same DNA. But what makes, say, a neuron different from a muscle cell is the proteins that it manufactures. So they've gone through at least 7 different adult tissue types, a number of different fetal tissue types, and some stem cells, and they've sequenced all of the proteins.
Jump to why that's important.
It just gives researchers another layer of information. So if you're trying to figure out how to battle cancer, you're not just looking at the genetic profile of a tumor, but you can look at how that genetic profile is affecting the proteins that it makes. Or if you're a stem cell researcher and you're trying to figure out if whatever you have in the Petri dish is closely mimicking the adult population that you're trying to replace with it, if you have the protein profile of the adult cells, then you have a guide, if you will, for manufacturing stem cells, or a standard to hold them to.
And that could lead to cures of some things that we don't have cures for right now.
Yeah, so it's not a technology that in and of itself would be used as a cure, but it helps scientists guide the technologies that they're using. It gives them something to shoot for.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. We just got to worry about time.
Oh, the last one. They have manufactured, and I forget who they are, 2 new DNA bases. So it looks as though at some point in the future we might be able to manufacture proteins that we were not able to make before.
And that's important. Why?
I have no idea why that's important. Some of these things
But you know it's important.
Yeah, somebody smarter than me is going to figure out how to put that to good use, but it's not going to be me.
Thank you so much
for
joining us. Eric Iannacone, who is the president of the New Jersey Academy of Science. We'll be back in a minute.